presses, then what do you say about that as a council when media is denied coverage?
It's wrong, unprofessional and unwarranted, because in the database of press freedom violations that we compile, denial to access of information is the leading now violation, that people are denied information based on very weird thinking. It's wrong because those parties and leaders who are telling us rule of law, social justice, when you deny a journalist access to information, one, you are denying their right to a livelihood, because there's a constitution that under the Employment Act, anybody has a right to a gainful employment. So if you deny a journalist to access information, you have denied them employment, income, because that's how journalists are paid, by doing articles. So if you deny them information, then it means that person will not be paid. Right to security, right to life. They have all these things. Journalists, away from now the journalistic provisions that access to information, Article 34, 35, they are there, that access to information, especially from public agencies, is not a favor. Article 35 says, and then the Access to Information Act of 2016 says, a journalist. And remember, Kenya borrows from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19, that by virtue of you being a human being, not even a journalist, you have a right to access information, exchange information. And media is the platform, a bigger platform where people get information, people get to get. So when you deny them, you are denying, by extension, voters, citizens to get information. Article 19 of the CCPR, International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, which again Kenya is a signatory, says that you must allow your citizens and people to exchange information, to access information. Article 9 of the African Charter for Human and People's Rights, which then now Article 33, 4, 5 borrow from. So there's every reason. And now there's a commission for justice. So Media Council has made a public statement to that effect, that people, it's wrong to deny any journalist, whether you think they are aligned to other political parties, to access information. It's a right, a constitutional right, that journalists are allowed to cover. And even now, as public officers, if an institution denies you information, an officer, don't take it personal. There's a whole commission for administrative justice, the ombudsman, and they're the one who are implementing the Article 35. Write a letter, call you seeking information, and they will help you. And they have been doing a very good job helping people get. Challenge is that most of us journalists were also very informal. We never want to be formal. If you ask information from Media Council and they deny, write a letter to CAJ, the Commission for Administration, and they will help you get that information. They have done it. Alan Nam just got some information on SHA, and others, Lempa got information. And it's happening. Just that we need to internalize the access to information process, that if you ask information for a public institution or a private institution that does work of public nature, Safaricom and others, then formally write and seek for that information. Don't stop at DC Amekata, I'm a Victor Amekata. That's not my office, that's a public institution. So let's also formalize to use the access to information provisions in our Act to demand and ask for a push. Many of us give up, but the patience is a virtue in journalism. That sometimes, some of us, when we were in news desk, you could chase a story for 3 to 6 months. Because the story is the story. It's not about frustration is part of the work. And I have repeated here, journalism is the most dangerous job in the world. It's reported. It's not a red carpet job. But those who want to be soft in the sense, but it also needs strategy and courtesy. That sometimes you don't get a story by fighting, but you get stories by sources. A number of us, when we are joining a newsroom, you are told your biggest resource is your network, no sources. You only look for story. If I'm looking for the governor, I can't get him. Can I use the driver? Can I use the bodyguard? Can I use an MCA that is close to them? Because if you understand those networks, a governor must have an MCA he is close to, related to, especially these nominated ones. So there's a person, if you are looking for them. But a number of us, 354 numbers that are here, the Safaricom numbers allowed, is all your classmates, your roommates. There's nothing outside that relates to journalism. So when you are doing a story, you have nobody to call. Unabaki tu kwa duru za kuaminika. You are writing fiction. But networks, the biggest journalists that have made it, ask your CEO, Mwenda Njoka, is sources. Because journalists don't write fiction. They write stories according to sources. If you have after work, where do you network yourself? After here, you go home. Tomorrow, you are here. In the morning, home. How do you make your sources? You have journalists here, TV47, who tell you they are your parliamentary reporter, but they have no single number of NMP. So when they are doing a story in parliament, where do they get information from? It's from the WhatsApp group, because court reporters, parliamentary, they all have this WhatsApp group, so some information is posted. You must invest in sources and how to look for credible information, and especially in this era of misinformation, disinformation. If you don't have critical sources that you can get breaking news all over on Facebook, but the ability to have somebody to confirm them. IBC has done this. Do you have a source at IBC that you can quickly during our days in the newsroom, we used to put the diary, the assignment book. We would write all numbers of critical people in the country, so that anybody doing a story, even if you are not there, nobody was owning a source. The source is for the newsroom. So the numbers would be put there, so that if you are doing a story on IBC, you could easily get the numbers there. Nowadays, people even hide. At wewe ni source wangu. Uko na source gani? When they take you from TV47, huyo mtu namba yako utakuwa nayo. So sources are not this egoistic thinking that I have my sources. How do you own a source? So the ability to build credible network of sources, networks in political parties, networks in government, is part of what makes you a brilliant journalist. It's not just the ability to write or interview people here.
Speaking of misinformation, and we also have AI coming up, which is